Welcome to Gripping Tales. Are you ready for today's video? It starts now.
Most gifts are harmless. A book, a piece of jewelry, something thoughtful that shows someone cares. But sometimes, a gift arrives that changes everything. Not because of what it is, but because of what it means, what it reveals, what it threatens. What I'm about to share with you are 5 true accounts of people who received gifts that were deeply, fundamentally wrong. Gifts that came with hidden meanings, veiled threats, or implications so disturbing that the recipients' lives were never quite the same. These aren't stories about gag gifts gone wrong or awkward Secret Santa exchanges. These are real incidents where someone received something that made them realize they were in danger, or that someone they trusted had been lying to them, or that they were being watched in ways they never imagined. After hearing these stories, you might think twice before opening that unexpected package. Story 1. The Portrait. In 2016, a woman I'll call Sarah was living alone in Seattle, working as a graphic designer. She'd recently ended a relationship with a man named Derek after 6 months of dating. The breakup had been her decision. Derek had become increasingly possessive and controlling, showing up unannounced at her apartment, questioning where she'd been and who she'd been with. When she ended things, he'd seemed to accept it. He was calm, even understanding. He said he respected her decision and hoped they could remain friends. Sarah was relieved. She'd heard horror stories about breakups turning ugly, and this one seemed civilized. 3 weeks after the breakup, a package arrived at her apartment. No return address, just her name and address written in handwriting she didn't recognize. Inside was a portrait, a pencil drawing, incredibly detailed, almost photorealistic. It was of Sarah, asleep in her bed. The drawing showed her bedroom exactly as it looked, the furniture placement, the pictures on her walls, the specific pattern of her bedspread. Even the position she slept in, curled on her left side with one hand under her pillow, was precisely accurate. Sarah's hands started shaking as she examined the drawing. There was no way someone could have created this from imagination or from photographs. Someone had been in her bedroom while she was sleeping, close enough to see every detail, close enough to touch her. She called the police. They took the drawing as evidence and questioned Derek, who denied any involvement. He claimed he had no idea who sent it, seemed genuinely shocked and concerned. Without proof that he'd commissioned or created the drawing, police couldn't do much beyond filing a report and suggesting Sarah get better locks and maybe a security system. Sarah installed deadbolts, got a Ring doorbell camera, and started sleeping with a knife under her pillow. But the damage was psychological. Every night when she went to bed, she thought about someone standing there, watching her sleep, sketching her vulnerable form in the darkness. 2 months later, another package arrived. Same handwriting. No return address. This time it was a photograph, taken from outside her bedroom window, showing her standing in her room, changing clothes. The photo had been taken recently. She recognized the outfit she'd worn just 3 days earlier. The message was clear. I'm still watching. I can see you whenever I want. You're never truly alone. Sarah moved out of that apartment within a week. Broke her lease, lost her deposit, didn't care. She moved in with a friend across town, didn't tell Derek or anyone from her old social circle where she was living. She never received another package. But she also never felt completely safe again. She keeps her blinds closed always. She checks every room when she gets home. And she never ever sleeps without first checking that every window and door is locked. The police never identified who sent the portrait or the photograph. Derek maintained his innocence, and there was no physical evidence connecting him to either item. Sarah believes it was him, but she can't prove it. And that uncertainty, not knowing for sure who violated her privacy, who watched her sleep, who might still be watching, is almost worse than knowing. The portrait is still in police evidence somewhere. Sarah has never asked to see it again. The image of herself, sleeping and vulnerable, drawn by someone who stood in her bedroom in the dark, is seared into her memory. She doesn't need a reminder. Sometimes a disturbing gift reveals that you've been violated. Other times, it reveals something far more calculated, that someone has been planning something for much longer than you realized. Story number 2. The Memory Box. In 2019, a man named Michael received a gift on his 40th birthday from his older brother, James. The brothers had always been close, just 2 years apart, raised in the same small town in Pennsylvania, shared friends growing up. James gave Michael a handmade wooden box at his birthday dinner. It was beautiful, polished cherry wood with brass hinges, clearly crafted with care. James explained that he'd made it himself in his woodworking shop and that it contained memories from our childhood. Michael opened it at the table, surrounded by his wife, his kids, and his parents. Inside were photographs, ticket stubs, small trinkets from their youth, a baseball from a Little League game, a movie ticket from a film they'd seen together in 1989, photos from family vacations. But as Michael looked through the items, something felt off. Many of the photos showed moments Michael didn't remember, or remembered differently. There was a photo of the two brothers at a lake. Michael remembered that trip, but in his memory, their cousin had been there too. In this photo, it was just the two of them. Another photo from a birthday party, Michael's 12th birthday. But Michael clearly remembered his best friend Mark being at that party. In this photo, Mark wasn't there. Just James and Michael. Ticket stubs from events Michael was certain he'd attended with different people. A concert he'd gone to with his high school girlfriend, but the ticket stub showed 2 tickets purchased under James's name, suggesting James had been his companion that night. Michael laughed it off at the dinner table. "Man, my memory's getting bad in my old age," he joked, but privately, he was unsettled. Over the next few days, he started going through old photo albums and boxes in his attic, trying to reconcile his memories with the contents of James's gift. What he discovered was deeply disturbing. Photos were missing. Not many, but enough to notice. Photos that would have shown other people present at events James's versions excluded. Photos were missing. Not many, but enough to notice. Photos that would have shown other people present at events James's versions excluded. Michael's high school yearbook had pages carefully removed, pages that would have shown photos from events where Michael had been with friends other than James. Old journals Michael had kept as a teenager had entries torn out. Not entire journal destroyed, just specific pages. Pages where Michael had written about doing things without James, about other friendships, about times when James had annoyed or upset him. Someone had been systematically editing Michael's documented past, removing evidence of relationships and experiences that didn't include James, curating a version of their shared childhood where they were always together, always close, always each other's primary relationship. Michael confronted James, expecting confusion or an explanation. Instead, James smiled. "I wanted you to remember things correctly," James said calmly. "All those other people, they didn't matter. They came and went. But we've always had each other. That's what's real. That's what I wanted to preserve." Michael was horrified. "You went through my stuff? You destroyed my photos, my journals?" "I didn't destroy anything important," James replied. "I just edited out the distractions." The memory box shows our real history, the way things actually were between us. But that wasn't how things actually were. James had constructed a fictional version of their childhood, one where their bond was more exclusive, more intense, more primary than it had ever truly been. Michael realized that James had been doing this for years, slowly, carefully removing evidence of Michael's independent life, independent friendships, independent memories, rewriting their shared history to match some idealized version that existed only in James's mind. When Michael demanded the stolen photos and journal pages back, James claimed he didn't have them anymore, said he'd discarded the duplicates and cleaned up the clutter. Michael's wife urged him to get a restraining order. Michael couldn't bring himself to do it. James was still his brother, and he hadn't technically threatened anyone. But he did cut off contact, told James they needed space. James sent letters, long handwritten letters, talking about their perfect childhood together, and how hurt he was that Michael was abandoning him after everything they'd shared. The letters were filled with references to events that either never happened or happened very differently than James described. James had fully internalized his edited version of their past. He seemed to genuinely believe it. Michael moved his family to another state 2 years later, partially for a job opportunity, but partially to put distance between them and James. He didn't leave a forwarding address. The memory box sits in Michael's attic now. He can't bring himself to throw it away. It's evidence of what his brother did, proof he's not crazy. But he also can't look at it. Every item inside represents a violation, a manipulation, a piece of his past that was stolen and rewritten. What disturbs Michael most is a question he can't answer. How long had James been planning this? The photos James removed had been taken from albums and yearbooks over decades. The journal pages had been torn out years ago. Had James been slowly, methodically editing Michael's documented history for their entire adult lives, waiting for the perfect moment to present his curated version as a gift? Michael still has nightmares about it. In the dreams, he's looking through photo albums, and every photo changes as he watches. Other people fade from the images until only he and James remain, frozen together, inseparable. James's gift revealed an obsession that had been growing for decades. But sometimes a gift doesn't reveal the past. It reveals something happening right now, something you didn't know was going on. Story number 3, the necklace. In 2020, during the pandemic lockdowns, a woman named Claire received a package in the mail. She was living with her boyfriend, Tom, in an apartment in Boston. They'd been together for 3 years, living together for 1. The package was addressed to Claire. Return address showed it was from a jewelry store in New York, a store Claire had never heard of. Inside was a beautiful silver necklace with a small pendant. The pendant was a pressed flower preserved in resin, a forget-me-not. Delicate, pretty, clearly expensive. There was a note. For Claire, remember me as I remember you. A. Claire was confused. She didn't know anyone with the initial A who would send her jewelry. She showed it to Tom, who seemed as puzzled as she was. They speculated it might be a mistake, or maybe from a distant relative she'd lost touch with. Claire posted about it on Facebook, asking if anyone knew who might have sent it. Several friends joked it might be a secret admirer. One friend suggested maybe it was from an ex. Claire laughed it off. She'd had a few relationships before Tom, but nothing serious, and none with anyone whose name started with A. A week later, another package arrived. Same jewelry store. This time, a bracelet. Silver with small charms. A tiny book, a coffee cup, a bicycle. The note this time. Each charm is a memory. Do you remember our Thursdays? A. Claire felt a chill run down her spine. Thursdays. When she and Tom had first started dating, before they moved in together, Claire had spent every Thursday evening at a coffee shop near her office. She'd go there after work, read, have coffee, decompress. The charms, a book, a coffee cup. They matched that routine. The bicycle was what made her blood cold. She'd bike to that coffee shop. It wasn't something she'd mentioned on social media or to many people. It was just her routine. Someone had been watching her. Someone who knew her Thursday routine well enough to commemorate it with jewelry. Claire went back through her old social media posts or messages, trying to figure out who A could be. She came up empty. She asked Tom if he knew anyone named A, Abigail, Andrew, Anthony, anyone. He didn't. The third package arrived 2 weeks later. A ring. Not an engagement ring, a simple band with an inscription inside. Thursday, 6:47 p.m. Claire felt sick. 6:47 p.m. was the exact time she used to arrive at the coffee shop most Thursdays. She'd checked old calendar entries to confirm. She used to leave work at 6:30, bike for about 15 minutes, arrive at 6:45 or 6:47. Someone hadn't just been watching her, they'd been timing her, tracking her movements with precision. She called the jewelry store. They confirmed the orders had been placed online, paid with a prepaid credit card, shipped to addresses that were receiving services, not a home address they could trace. Dead end. Claire filed a police report. The detective assigned to her case said it sounded like stalking, but without a clear suspect or direct threat, there wasn't much they could do. They documented everything, told her to keep the packages as evidence, and advised her to be careful. Tom suggested they move. They'd been thinking about getting a bigger place anyway, and this seemed like a good reason to relocate. They found an apartment across town, didn't post about it online, and moved quickly. No more packages arrived. For 3 months, nothing. Then Claire was scrolling through her Instagram feed and saw a post from an acquaintance, a woman named Allison who worked in the same building as Claire's old office. They'd been Facebook friends but had never been close, just people who said hi in the elevator occasionally. Allison's post was about moving away from Boston, starting fresh in Portland, leaving behind bad habits and unhealthy obsessions. Something made Claire click on Allison's profile. She scrolled back through old posts. Most were normal: food photos, travel pictures, inspirational quotes. But then she found posts from 2019 and early 2020. Photos taken in coffee shops. Photos of coffee and books. Photos of bicycles. And in the background of one photo, blurry, unfocused, but unmistakable, Claire could see herself sitting at a table in that coffee shop. Allison had been there. Those Thursdays, taking photos that just happened to have Claire in the background. Claire checked the timing of the posts. They aligned perfectly with her Thursday coffee shop visits. Allison. Claire looked through more of Allison's posts, her skin crawling. There were vague references to someone special and Thursdays with my favorite person. And she doesn't know I exist, but I see her. Allison had been obsessed with her, had watched her every Thursday, had romanticized their proximity, sharing the same space, the same routine, even though they'd never actually spoken beyond pleasantries in the elevator. And when the pandemic hit, when Claire stopped going to the coffee shop because everything shut down, Allison had started sending gifts, trying to maintain the connection, trying to remind Claire of those Thursdays. The forget-me-not pendant, remember me, don't forget those Thursdays. Claire blocked Allison on all social media. She contacted the police with this information. They spoke to Allison, who admitted to sending the jewelry but claimed she'd meant it as friendly gestures and, quote, didn't mean to upset anyone. She was moving to Portland anyway, she said. She'd leave Claire alone. The police couldn't arrest her. She'd sent unwanted gifts and behaved oddly, but hadn't technically threatened Claire or broken any laws. Claire still has the jewelry. She can't wear it, obviously. It sits in a drawer, evidence of a one-sided obsession she never knew existed. What disturbs her most is thinking about all those Thursdays. All those evenings she'd sat in that coffee shop feeling peaceful and alone while someone across the room watched her, took photos of her, built a fantasy relationship in her mind, memorized her schedule down to the exact minute. Claire doesn't have a regular routine anymore. She varies her schedule, her routes, her habits. She checks over her shoulder. She's hyper-aware of people in public spaces who might be watching her. The gifts were beautiful. That's part of what makes them so horrifying. Someone put thought into them, care, precision. They were tokens of devotion. But devotion from someone Claire had never consented to being connected to. Someone who loved a version of Claire that existed only in her imagination. Allison's gifts revealed an obsession Claire never knew existed. But our next story is about a gift that revealed something worse, that someone's entire life had been built on a lie. Story 4, The Photo Album. In 2018, a woman named Rebecca turned 50. For her birthday, her adult daughter Emma decided to create a special gift, a photo album chronicling Rebecca's life from childhood to the present. Emma spent months gathering photos. She scanned old pictures from Rebecca's childhood home, collected photos from relatives, organized decades of family memories into a beautiful leather-bound album. At Rebecca's birthday party, surrounded by family and friends, Emma presented the album. Rebecca opened it, emotional and touched by the effort. The first pages showed Rebecca as a baby, as a toddler, as a young girl. Standard family photos. But as Rebecca turned the pages, something began to bother her. There were photos she didn't remember. Or rather, photos that showed things differently than she remembered them. One photo showed Rebecca, around age 7, standing in front of a house. The caption in Emma's handwriting said, "Mom's childhood home in Virginia." But Rebecca had grown up in Ohio. She was certain of it. She remembered her childhood home clearly. A ranch house on a corner lot, not the colonial-style house in the photo. Another photo showed a family Christmas, the caption, "Mom's Family, 1978. But the people in the photo weren't all people Rebecca recognized. There was a woman who looked vaguely familiar but whose face Rebecca couldn't quite place. An older man she'd never seen before. Rebecca kept turning pages, her confusion growing into something darker. Dread. Photos of birthday parties with kids she didn't recognize. Photos from a school she was certain she'd never attended. Photos of vacations to places she had no memory of visiting. And then, about halfway through the album, a photo that made Rebecca stop breathing. It was a family portrait. Professional, formal. A mother, a father, 2 children. The girl in the photo was clearly a young Rebecca. Same face, same eyes. But the boy standing next to her, the parents flanking them, Rebecca didn't recognize them. The caption read, "Mom's Family Portrait, 1980. But in 1980, Rebecca had been an only child, raised by her mother after her father left when she was 3. She'd never had a brother. She was certain of that. Absolutely certain. Rebecca looked up from the album, her face pale. "Emma, where did you get these photos?" "From Grandma's attic," Emma said. "I went through all the old boxes." "Why? Is something wrong?" Rebecca's mother, Emma's grandmother, had passed away 6 months earlier. Emma had inherited many of her belongings, including boxes of old photos. Rebecca spent the next week going through those boxes herself. What she found didn't make sense. There were 2 sets of photos. One set showed the life Rebecca remembered, her childhood in Ohio, her mother, herself as an only child. The other set showed a different life. A life in Virginia, with a father and a brother, with different neighbors and different friends. Rebecca contacted relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins. She started asking questions. The responses she got were vague, uncomfortable. People changed the subject. One aunt finally admitted, "Your mother never wanted to talk about Virginia. We were told not to bring it up." Rebecca hired a private investigator. What the investigator uncovered was a family secret that had been buried for over 40 years. Rebecca did have a brother, a twin brother named Daniel. When Rebecca and Daniel were 7 years old, there had been an accident. Daniel had drowned in a neighbor's pool. Rebecca had been there when it happened. The trauma had been so severe that Rebecca's mother had moved them away, from Virginia to Ohio, far from the memories and the grief. She'd removed all evidence of Daniel's existence, believing it would help Rebecca heal. She'd told Rebecca, young and traumatized, that they were starting fresh, starting over, and that the past didn't matter. Over time, Rebecca's memory had apparently complied. The trauma, the move, her mother's insistence on never mentioning Virginia or Daniel, it had created a kind of psychological amnesia. Rebecca had literally forgotten her twin brother's existence. Her mother had maintained this fiction for 4 decades. Every relative had been told to play along, never to mention Daniel, never to bring up Virginia, and it had worked. Rebecca had grown up, gone to college, gotten married, had children, lived an entire adult life without consciously remembering that she'd once been a twin. Until Emma, unknowingly, innocently, compiled those photos into an album, mixed the 2 sets of pictures together, confronted Rebecca with a past she didn't remember living. The revelation devastated Rebecca. She grieved for a brother she couldn't remember. She grieved for the childhood that had been erased from her memory. She grieved for her mother, who'd carried this secret and this loss alone for so long. But she was also angry. Angry that the choice to forget had been made for her. Angry that her entire family had participated in this deception. Angry that a fundamental piece of her identity, having been a twin, having had a brother, had been hidden from her. Emma felt horrible. The photo album, meant as a loving tribute, had inadvertently uncovered a family trauma that everyone had worked for decades to bury. Rebecca still has the album. She's added to it new photos of Daniel that relatives have shared, photos of the 2 of them together as babies and toddlers. She's trying to reclaim those memories, even though she can't actually remember most of them. She's in therapy now, working through complicated grief for a brother she lost twice, once to death, once to enforced forgetting. The gift itself, the photo album, sits on a shelf in Rebecca's home. A beautiful leather-bound book that was supposed to celebrate a life but instead revealed that whole chapters of that life had been erased. Sometimes the most disturbing gifts are the ones that show you truths you never knew existed. Truths that change your understanding of who you are and where you came from. Rebecca's gift revealed a hidden past. Our final story is about a gift that revealed a hidden present. Something happening right now that the recipient had no idea was going on. Story number 5. The USB drive. In 2021, a man named Kevin found a small wrapped box on his doorstep when he came home from work. No note, no card, no indication of who it was from, just a small box wrapped in plain brown paper with his name written on it. Kevin lived alone in Denver, worked in IT, had a small circle of friends. He wasn't expecting any deliveries. He brought the box inside and opened it. Inside was a USB flash drive. Nothing else. Just a standard black USB drive, the kind you could buy at any office supply store. Kevin's IT background made him cautious. Random USB drives could contain malware, viruses, ransomware. He wasn't about to plug it into his personal computer. Instead, he used an old laptop he kept for testing purposes, wiped clean, not connected to his home network, isolated from his important files. He plugged in the USB drive and opened it. There was a single folder. Inside that folder were hundreds of photos and videos. Photos of Kevin. Videos of Kevin. In his home. In his bedroom. In his bathroom. In his kitchen. Kevin's hands started shaking as he clicked through the files. These weren't photos someone could have taken through a window. These were taken from inside his apartment. From multiple angles. From cameras that had to have been installed in his private spaces. One photo showed Kevin sleeping in his bed, taken from an overhead angle. Another showed him in his bathroom, brushing his teeth, taken from a camera that must have been hidden near the ceiling. Videos showed him watching TV, cooking dinner, working at his desk. Hours of footage, weeks of footage. The files were dated. The oldest was from 6 months ago. The most recent was from 2 days earlier. Someone had been recording Kevin in his own home for 6 months, and now they were letting him know. Kevin immediately called the police. Officers came to his apartment and helped him search for hidden cameras. They found 5. One in his bedroom, hidden in a smoke detector. One in his bathroom, hidden in an air vent. One in his living room, disguised as a phone charger left plugged into an outlet. One in his kitchen, hidden in a clock. One in his home office, hidden in a book on his shelf. All wireless, all streaming to some remote location, all professionally installed. The police took the cameras as evidence and tried to trace where the video feeds had been going. The cameras connected to an encrypted network that investigators couldn't immediately crack. But the bigger question was, who had installed them and when? Kevin went through his calendar, trying to figure out when someone could have had access to his apartment. He rarely had visitors. He'd had a few dates over the past year, but no one he'd brought home. His landlord had a key, but Kevin trusted him. They'd known each other for years. Then Kevin remembered. 6 months ago, almost exactly when the oldest photos were dated, he'd had his apartment fumigated for a small pest problem. The fumigation company had asked him to leave for the day while they worked. Kevin called the fumigation company. They confirmed they'd serviced his apartment on that date. They provided the name of the technician who'd done the work. Marcus Holden. The police investigated Marcus Holden. What they found was disturbing. Holden worked for several fumigation and pest control companies as a contractor. He had legitimate credentials and had been in the business for years, but he'd also been fired from 3 previous companies for reasons that weren't fully explained in his employment records. When police searched Holden's home and vehicle, they found equipment for installing hidden cameras. They found hard drives with thousands of hours of video footage from dozens of different homes, other clients he'd serviced, other people he'd secretly recorded. Holden had been using his job as cover to gain access to people's homes, install cameras, and record them for months or years. What he did with the footage, police weren't entirely sure. Some of it appeared to have been uploaded to dark websites, some he just kept for himself. The USB drive sent to Kevin was unusual. In most of the other cases, the victims never knew they'd been recorded. Holden just watched them, archived the footage, and moved on. But for some reason, Holden had decided to let Kevin know. Maybe as a taunt. Maybe because he was planning to escalate. Blackmail, extortion, something worse. Police never got a clear answer because Holden refused to explain his motives. Holden was arrested and eventually convicted on dozens of counts of illegal surveillance, invasion of privacy, and related charges. He's currently serving a 15-year sentence, but for Kevin, the damage was done. He moved out of that apartment immediately, broke his lease, packed everything he owned, and left. He had every smoke detector, every vent, every outlet in his new place professionally inspected. He bought camera detectors and sweeps his apartment monthly. He covers his laptop camera with tape. He's hyper-aware of anyone who enters his home for any reason. The psychological impact was severe. Kevin developed anxiety, insomnia, paranoia. The knowledge that someone had watched him in his most private moments, sleeping, showering, changing clothes, just existing in his own space, violated him in a way that felt almost physical. What disturbed Kevin most was the USB drive itself. Why send it? What was the message? Was it a warning? A threat? A taunt? Was Holden proud of what he'd done, wanting Kevin to know how comprehensively he'd been violated? Or was there something else on that drive that Kevin hadn't found yet? Some hidden file, some encrypted message, some worse revelation waiting to be discovered? Kevin still has the USB drive. It's in police evidence. Sometimes he wonders if he should ask to look at it again, to make sure he saw everything. But he can't bring himself to do it. What he's already seen is enough to haunt him. The gift, if you can call it that, wasn't the USB drive itself. It was the knowledge, the revelation that for 6 months, Kevin's privacy had been an illusion, that his home, his sanctuary, had been compromised, that he'd been performing his private life for an audience of one, without ever knowing someone was watching. That's a gift no one wants to receive. The truth about how vulnerable they've been, how violated, how blind to the threat that was right there in their own home. These 5 stories span different years, different cities, different kinds of violation, but they all share one common thread, a gift that wasn't really a gift at all, a gift that revealed something disturbing about the giver, about the recipient's life, or about a threat they didn't know existed. Gifts are supposed to express care, thoughtfulness, connection. But sometimes a gift is a weapon, a psychological weapon designed to frighten, to control, to reveal power over someone else's life. If you've received a gift that disturbed you, something that felt wrong in a way you couldn't quite articulate, or something that made you realize you were in danger, you're not alone. Trust your instincts. Document what you received. Don't dismiss your feelings as paranoia. Until next time, stay safe. And remember, not everything that comes wrapped with your name on it is meant for your benefit. Sometimes a gift is a message. And sometimes that message is a threat.
Thanks for watching. Every ending hides the beginning of another tale, and ours is already on its way. Stay tuned. You'll find the next chapter right here, and soon.